And welcome back to another official Silver Screams review. It has been a long time since
that was not an introduction I was expecting.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Okay, that occurred.
But it has been a long time since we've sat down to talk to you guys about a TV show. I think the last time we did it was when
Goosebumps.
it was when Ash vs. Evil Dead wrapped up.
Oh. Boy, how long has it been since we did Goosebumps?
Too long. We should do another retro review soon. We should, because there's so much of it, and because the Goosebumps movie is on Netflix now. Anywho, that's Anyway, we are here tonight to talk to you about the season 2 premiere of MTV's Scream. And I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised with season 1, and the beginning of season 2 hasn't disappointed yet.
The beginning was actually really good. I mean, there were some parts of season 1 where it was like, okay, take it or leave it, okay.
There were definitely certain parts where it was like MTV.
There were certain parts that were just like
MTV.
But this was, the opening felt like, it felt like a Scream opening, both parts of it. First, the fake out in the movie, which I definitely had this moment of, if we start this series with a dead cat, I'm going to be really disappointed.
I will shake someone.
I might just peace out. Like, oh, well, they killed the cat, that's it, I'm done. Bye.
That would have been
But they didn't. I was okay with that. I'm more okay with people dying than cats.
I mean, no, it's the same thing in a lot of movies. That's why there are a lot of people who are more okay with people dying in movies than, say, like a dog.
There's a
trope for it, right?
There's a trope for it. There's a website, and I cannot for the life of me remember what it's called, but if you plug in a movie name, it'll tell you if an animal dies during that movie.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so it's like,
what an interesting database.
I can't handle if the dog dies. Does the dog die in this movie? And you put in whatever, and they're like, there is no dog. And you're like, no, the dog's fine. So you can go, okay. Or they're like, no, the dog really dies.
For
and you
people
can go,
who are really sensitive to that sort of thing, again, it makes sense.
Yeah. It's a very specific sort of database.
It is very sad.
And I can't remember what it's called.
Well, and again, as people, like, we can detach ourselves from other people, but there's just something about an animal companion that, like, it's really hard to, even when it's obviously a fictional character, and obviously when the real animal does not get hurt, but there's just something there.
Not since the 30s, I believe.
Oh.
It hasn't been around for that long.
Yeah. Anywho, to get back to this one, yeah, the opening for this episode was equal parts Scream 4 and Scream 2. I loved that it took place in a movie theater. I love that it was a prank. It was a beautiful fake out.
Holy crap, that was, and you tell the moment the girl sat up, you stabbed him? I'm like, I'm sorry, what did you think the result of this was going to be?
I know!
You went after the person who shot the murderer from last season.
In the head!
It's like, do you really think that she's not...
Of course she's gonna shank you if you come at her with a knife. Doesn't matter if the knife's real or not, she doesn't know that.
See,
and you're live streaming it? You morons!
See, and those two, the guy in the suit was extremely lucky that 1, the camera harness stopped it, and 2, she went for the screwdriver. There was a meat tenderizer in that case, you guys.
She could have beat him to death.
Screwdriver. That would have been my weapon of choice.
Well, and
because those masks have not historically covered anything past the cheekbones. So if you go for the sides, go for the temples, you're down. Meat tenderizers have some weight to them.
They really do. Or even just, she had a fire extinguisher. She could have just...
I thought she was gonna...
That's what I thought too. I thought she was gonna beat him. You see, they couldn't allow her to do that because then she would have killed this kid.
Yeah. I honest to God thought that she was either going to use the fire extinguisher to break the door and get out, or to hit him in the face. Like, this is where I thought this was going. I'm kind of surprised that she went for the screwdriver of all things, but again,
it does
on
have
a
a
mental
pointy end.
level, she needed to avoid a manslaughter charge.
Yeah, it was a beautiful framing device because we had, she's getting text messages, and then this weird stuff starts happening in the theater as she's closing up. It was a really great reintroduction, especially to people who are skeptical about whether or not a season 2 could work. And and this is one of those things where it's like, I don't know if they had season 2 planned when they started writing for season 1, but like if this episode is any indicator of the rest of the season, it is off to a really good start. I don't know if they'll be able to maintain that momentum for a season 3 or however long they want to go for, but like as far as season 2, I'm thoroughly convinced. I
love the idea of trauma survivors in a digital age where everything is broadcast, where everything is podcasted, where your information gets out there whether you like it or not. When there's an incident like that, it doesn't matter how small this town is. You have, how many people died last season? Like
a lot.
8?
A lot,
10?
yeah.
Many people died, and then you have 6 people who could have been victims but were survivors, and so you name them and you have publicity for the town and you talk about, like, they're not going to have any privacy anymore. Everyone's going to know their names and faces, at least for as long as it takes for that to be a big story, and then the people who will continue to hang on to it.
Yeah.
So it could be anyone, it could be a fan, it could be someone who actually knew that she was the accomplice. Like, we don't know who the killer is, obviously, but I think we might be in for some good commentary about the internet, about everything being digital, about everything being out there. And I say this on a video podcast, you guys.
Yeah,
we're doing video reviews of this.
You're talking to 2 podcasters, to 2 reactors, to 2
hosts,
vloggers, field producers, things like that. So you are talking to people who definitely put ourselves out there, who have Instagrams and all that jazz.
Who link their social networks, except for Facebook, because who links things to Facebook?
And I'm not up on the Snapchats like all you kids. And I refuse it to call it anything else.
Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Snapchat. I was doing Yikak for a while, and then I realized it was completely pointless. That's the one I gave up on. Fucking Yik-Yak.
But I like 2 things about this particular. There are actually a lot of things I really like this, what you were talking about in terms of the digital stuff, I actually really like that Noah is hosting his own podcast about the murders, because
and that he Shanghai Paige's listeners
or Piper's,
thank you.
P names. Anywho,
P names.
Anyway, sorry. I should cut that. I'm not going to, but I should.
I don't see what the problem is.
Anyway, because in some ways that could be seen as exploitative. It could definitely be seen as doing more harm than good to try to cash in on your 15 minutes of fame or whatever. But it's not. It's him taking ownership of this terrible thing that happened to him and telling his story. And they said it more than once, or I definitely said it while we were watching it, and they said it at least once in the episode. Everybody grieves in their own way. Yeah. And I think that's definitely his way of working through everything.
I worry about the fact that he's got a murder board that he hasn't let go. I mean, obviously she's got an accomplice, and obviously it's Audrey. I mean, we know this on an other side of the fourth wall, sort of way.
What I also like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, it's good.
What I also like about it is that even though it's really still, it's basically smacking us in the face with the fact that Audrey is her accomplice, we still don't know the extent to how dirty her hands are. She might have initially reached out to Piper, and then Piper went nuts and started doing all this stuff, and Audrey had no idea that it was going to get out of hand.
But they did say that Audrey's DNA was in the mask. They made pretty sure to show that clip during our little 1.5-minute episode season.
She could have been wearing it at one point when still thinking it was a prank. There might have only been one person she had a particular vendetta against, and then Piper went off the rails, and like again, Audrey might have just wanted to get Nina. Not that that's good or excusable.
One murder is still a murder.
Yeah, and again, she said her girlfriend talked her out of it. That's, again, what she says. But that could very well be true, and that Piper was the one that took things an extra step and went full-on crazy person.
I was going to say, that's not an extra step, that's a marathon.
Yeah, she just went full psycho murder on everybody, went full horror movie on everybody. And Audrey, at that point, it was too late. You know, anything that she gave away, is explicitly, indicting herself. Which, and again, that's a huge assumption on my part. She might have been stabbing people left and right. I don't know. Who knows? But I like that.
There were definitely some points where it's like, there has to be 2 killers right now. There's no way they managed to do that with just...
Yeah, and I like that they're leaving it vague enough that we don't know the full extent. We know she clearly wore the mask at some point, but that we still don't know the full extent. And that she's still being made sympathetic, or that we still like her. And I love the idea of her becoming the new target. And that everybody else, and again, that leaves a lot of questions as to, my guess right now is that the killer would be Troy James. That this was his niece that got killed, if that's the case, that Piper died as a result of Audrey shooting her in the head.
I feel like it is way too on the nose for all this to be happening at his barn. And then he's the killer.
Of course it's too on the nose, but right now we don't have a ton of pieces to work with.
That's true too.
So that's my initial guess right now. I really like, there's some really great cinematics in this episode. Just the shot of Ghostface silhouetted, and for those of you who are going to get on my case about calling him Ghostface, he's still Ghostface. It's fine. Calm down. And I gotta say, too, actually holding a sight like he's the Grim freaking Reaper. So cool. So cool.
There were some really good shots in this episode. It's like, that is not cinematography I expected from MTV. Well done.
No, but it looks so good, and it...
Can I just say, the new sheriff is my favorite person.
He's so cool, right?
Bless this human being. And for treating people like human beings, and for having a good head on his shoulders, like, go get your friend a soda. He wants to press charges, you don't. It's your choice. I'm like, yeah,
you do you, girl.
Good human being.
Yeah,
boy, I hope he lives.
He clearly has a much better head on his shoulders than, sadly, the last sheriff.
I really hope he lives. I will be really pissed off if he dies. And the sad thing is, it's like, we have him, we have his son, we have this person who's going to help her with her homework, and I'm like, well, we killed all the people of color last season, so we need to put some more in there.
Yeah.
Sadly, that was my first reaction, and I sincerely hope they survive, because I really wanted to be just more than that.
Well, and I don't know what Jake's ethnicity was either, but he was definitely ambiguously brown, and he's dead now. So, not that I mourn the loss of Jake. He was a douche.
Yeah,
I don't feel bad for him. I feel bad for Brooke.
Yes.
Because when she finds out, she's going to be heartbroken. And
she might feel guilty.
Of course she will. Let's talk about these new characters that we introduced. We got Zoe, Gustavo, the sheriff, and this new psychology teacher, which she's probably been there for a good long while. But the teachers at this school are remarkably unprofessional. We had the teacher from last season who engaged in sexual relations with one of his students, and this one, in the middle of class, not so subtly handing her phone number
if you need to talk, like, oh God, don't do that in front of her classmates on the first day back.
Them aside after class. What is wrong with you? You monster!
If any of the teachers I work at tried that in the middle of class, oh boy. I can't. It's mind-boggling how unprofessional, bordering on stupid that is.
Yeah.
Like, I get
unprofessional at best. At best, it's just unprofessional.
I get that we wanted the scene of, if you want to talk, you can come to me, but that's when you shoot a scene of it happening after class, of everyone else leaving and her going, hey, would you mind staying? But, just in case. Okay, have a good day.
Yeah, she would probably appreciate the privacy. Like, she's having issues of everybody staring at her.
I mean, she asked Zoe to help her with her homework. Like, you're the only one who doesn't stare, and you don't have an ulterior motive.
Yeah.
Watch her be the killer. Actually, I will be really happy if the girl who tried to pull the prank at the beginning is actually the killer.
Yeah, it looks like she's sticking around this whole season.
It looks like she's starting a fight.
Yeah, she just looks like an asshole. I don't think she's going to be the killer. Although that would be a great twist
I would
if it
love
was.
for her. It's very Scream 4.
I think she's just gonna be somebody who gets killed later on, who's just gonna be a douchebag, and then she's gonna get killed later on.
I really want her to be the killer and just have been in all this from the ground floor. I mean, being the one to be like, you stabbed him? This is stupid. Just making the scene immediately makes you go, oh, it's not her.
Yeah, but there is that third party on the forum, which big question mark is the instigator. But again, not
Do you
anything
know how
that
easy it is to go
Super
to the
easy.
local library and get a
Super
different
easy.
IP address? Like,
get a different email, get a different username.
not even that, they're anonymous
Ping.
comments. You can just whatever, but if you just go 10 feet down the street, it's a different IP address. Boom, done.
Well,
Fine.
and even just that's not even taking into account the hacking, whatever that hand wavy hacking magic stuff they did in season 1. But another character, Gustavo. They're painting him as an even bigger horror nerd than Noah, which I feel like they're laying it on a little thick with him.
What with the image of her with the blood and the...
He's specifically a horror comic fan. Like classic Tales from the Crypt, that sort of stuff. And he's clearly an artist. And I gasped when I saw what he was drawing because that's extremely insensitive. Artistic expression, I don't wanna harp on you or anything, but dude, don't you ever show that to anybody ever because that's extremely not cool.
And you're drawing it in class while she's sitting 10 feet away from you. Like, there's a time, and I get having the model right there, but boy, there's a time and a
clause in the city charter that says when you appoint a sheriff, you have to make sure his son is creepy? Because that was kind of a plot point in season 1. Is that what we're going with?
Creepy.
Is that part of like the hiring requirements? I don't understand.
Well, there's weird shit going on. My son would fit right in.
Lakewood, the only town that will accept my son for who he is. Am I wrong? But we've touched on the new
few jokes in there I'm not sure I can make.
Probably not.
Probably not.
I just meant because he's clearly deranged. But the
Somewhere I belong.
Oh no! Now it's gonna be in my head all night.
You're welcome.
I will never. Yeah, no, stop.
Break out the vintage Lincoln Park. Let's have some fun.
Focus. Anyway, so we touched on these new characters. Let's touch on Emma a little bit because
Poor girl.
Part of like the big plot point around this stuff, and we talked about the psychology teacher. We talked about this a little bit off camera, but in class they were talking about keeping dream journals and using dreams as a way of digging through your subconscious and like the stuff that your brain is
you need
trying
to deal with.
And I feel like
Which means that dreams are going to be some super big plot convenience in this season.
It really is, and I feel like
you've already done that.
We did it in season 1, and I feel like this is being used as justification for using it going forward. Because when they used it in season 1, it was like, this is Emma's subconscious putting it all together while she's in the hospital, and it just...
Including hallucinatory dad.
Tom Everett Scott. It would be nice if he showed up in person this season.
Yeah, I like Tom Everett Scott and
He's great.
Stuff.
He's great. But the big problem obviously is that it is kind of contrived, and this is kind of a blatant way of saying it's okay because psychology.
Here's the device that we're going to be using all season for our revelatory assholes.
Which is kind of annoying because the movies never did that. And I don't want to make...
movies didn't have to. They only had
They
an
really
hour and a half
didn't.
to do stuff.
And granted, yeah, an entire season you're going to have to pad some stuff out, and you're dealing with some elements of PTSD, and you want to have a visual way of telling that. Quiet, you.
We have a cat.
We do. Cat scare! Cat!
I've had a few of those in real life.
She can jump up unexpectedly sometimes. But it is kind of contrived. And so, yeah, the movies never had to do that because I feel like the movies were so grounded. And Sydney as a character, even in the subpar third movie, when she's very much out of character in that movie, and she, like, isolated herself and all that other stuff, she never seemed to be the type of person that had a breakdown or, like, had to, like, these crazy dreams as, like, a way of dealing with. She was just Sydney.
She processed it in a very different way.
Yeah, she processed and mourned and moved on in a very different way.
I feel like plot point dreams were less of a thing in the 90s.
At least in terms of something that was trying so hard to be meta-commentary and semi-lampooning at the same time. Using dreams as a plot point would have been real weird and out of place in something that's supposed to feel more real.
And I think this is kind of where, for the Scream series, we're diverging a little bit because, you know, dreams are a plot point and she's hallucinating and there's some really weird stuff going on, and it feels less like a Scream movie, which, for lack of a better word, were all very straightforward as to their supernatural or horror elements, and that there were no supernatural elements, and it was
just guys flailing around, trying their best.
With the exception of Scream 3, where evidently he had the ability to teleport.
Because plot contrivances.
Because plot contrivances and potentially shitty editing. You just don't...
I'm a ghost!
But yeah, for the most part, the Scream movies are all very much in-your-face, straightforward. It's a slasher film. There's no supernatural stuff going on here. And the second we start going into plot device dreams and ethereal things, and we're going over this way, and like, you're starting to get into the edging on supernatural bit. We're starting to get into Mike Myers territory. We're starting to get a little bit into Jason
where
territory.
It's becoming the thing it always made fun of.
Yeah, this is no longer Scream where it's just, it's a human, we're done. Like, it may still be a human, but the fact that they're messing with dreams of plot significance and just some of the ways they're framing things, some of the kills, and all the weird stuff with the pigs, let's be real.
Yeah.
It's becoming a lot more horror.
I will say that something that they're doing that, to their credit, the Scream films never did, was the potential of having an actually semi-justified killer. If this is somebody who was related to or very close to Piper, or even somebody among their group of friends who found out about Audrey's involvement and snapped and wants revenge, I mean, there's no excuse.
Who was close to any of the victims.
Yeah, there's no excuse for ever murdering people, but like the idea of going after Audrey, if she really is involved to the extent that we believe she is, that is justified. And none of the Scream movies ever had a justified killer.
We had killers who thought they were justified. I'm looking at you, Scream 2.
Well, thought they were justified and thought they were entitled. All of them think that they're justified.
Looking at you, Scream 2.
And thought they were entitled. Scream 1, Scream 2, Scream 3, and Scream 4. And speaking of Scream 4, I do just kind of imagine Sydney's younger cousin listening to Noah's podcast, going crazy, and going, "You had your 15 minutes, now I want mine!" It's a funny thought.
And going, wow, this sounds a lot like Woodsboro.
Or Chanel listening to the podcast. I mean, ugh, this is such trash.
Very, very different.
So different.
Hester would listen.
Oh, she would love it. She would eat it
She'd
up.
be down.
She would love it. For those of you who haven't watched our Scream Queens podcast, vlogs,
Close enough.
Go listen to those or watch them or whatever. We had a hoot.
We did.
We had a hoot.
Really did.
But yeah, so to get back to Emma and Will, like, their relationship is off to a rocky start now that she's back. And what I like that they're kind of hinting at, but that they haven't really delved into, is the idea that he's suffering just as much as she is.
Yeah.
Because she's like, oh, like, I'm the one making it weird, like, he thinks I'm gonna break, it's all my fault because I'm the one with all the issues. It's like, honey, his dad is dead.
His dad was horribly murdered. Like, really horribly murdered.
His dad is dead, a lot of his friends are dead. So yeah, you both went through this pretty horrible thing. It's not just you that's suffering. And that's something that they didn't necessarily delve into in the Scream movies either. It was always about Sydney. I mean, no one ever touched on the fact that Dewey lost his younger sister.
I mean, I feel like, yeah, it was always about Sydney, but I feel like the killers always made it about Sydney.
They really
as
did.
Well, it's like,
but you never
matters.
You never see Randy mourning. You never see Dewey really mourning. And whenever they are, it's always in a connecting moment with Sydney.
Sydney, yeah.
Which, not complaining, love those movies. They're fantastic. And she is the point of focus. But in a series with an ensemble cast of characters, you have to allow them to have their individual development as well.
Yeah.
And so it's cool to see the different ways that they're all processing this. And I like the idea of her and Will both having to work through this, like, together as a couple. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's cool
Provided
and
they
sweet.
stay a couple.
Provided they stay a couple and provided they both stay alive.
Stay alive.
Staying alive?
I was going with Hamilton, but okay.
Ah.
I'm missing my middle register. I'm just getting over a cold, so it's like,
I know what you were going for. But the so another thing to kind of go off of, talking about Brooke a little bit, is that it sounds like her dad is still in hot water. She breaks up with Jake. Jake went to go enact some scheme.
I have some scheme and it'll make your dad love me and you'll want me back.
Confusing. I don't know what he planned to do. I mean, I'm sorry that he's dead, again, for her sake, but I'm very confused about what it was he was trying to do. Did not work out for him. Kind of a bummer.
He stepped in a bear trap?
Ouch. And that was unfortunate, too, because the person knocked him out with a bat, put him in a barn.
Saw-style trap.
Not even, just in a barn. Left him a message to kind of indicate that they were listening in on the party or were at the party, and then left him a means of being able to get out of the barn after hours of, like, working at getting out. Then took him in, knocked him out again, took him into the house, hung him upside down, and then slashed him with a scythe. That seems like a lot of unnecessary work.
Unfair.
Yeah.
It was just unfair. Like, there gets to be a point as the audience where you're like, okay, no, you set him up this challenge and he did it. He's earned this.
Well, and there's also a certain point of, like, why didn't you just kill him when he was, like, you had a baseball bat, you could have just killed him.
Notice that they were either recording or streaming when he was struggling with the thing, with the puzzle and trying to
get out. With a very similar looking GoPro type deal.
Yeah, you realize most GoPros look alike.
They really do.
So that's not really.
That's not
get that sucker off of Amazon.
No. But so, yeah, somebody felt the need to record his suffering and felt the need to make him suffer. Which, again, very different tactic. Again, whoever is doing this feels like they have the right to do it. It feels like they feel like they're justified in making the people responsible for Piper's death suffer.
And it may not even be revenge for Piper. It could be revenge for any of the victims. Or it could be just someone being opportunistic.
It could be. It could. And yeah, what makes me think is that it's somebody removed from the situation. If it was like Noah found out that Audrey was responsible for Riley's death, it seems a little weird to go and attack Jake and the other people he was, like, who we were all, like, that he was hoping would all make it out of this scenario. So that's why I feel it's not any of the core people that's doing this, but but somebody on the periphery or somebody we were just introduced to or haven't been introduced to yet.
Or we have two killers who aren't working with each other, that the person who's tormenting Audrey is different from the person who's strung up.
That's interesting.
And has just completely different motivations, completely different. I'm running with that theory for now. I like this.
There's
I'm very proud of myself.
If we're talking about theories, and I guess it's okay. I mean, we pretty much covered the episode. Is there
Let's
anything
do
else?
it.
But one theory I kind of want to go into, and maybe I'm reading too much into it. I'm probably reading too much into it. But when she had her meltdown or whatever, initially they said that, you know, she'd been away for 3 months because she had a meltdown at school and that she needed to go get therapy. And again, I'm probably reading way too much into it, but she and Will did sleep together. Or not Will. She and Kieran did sleep together last season. So I was thinking, it was like, what if she was pregnant, had a miscarriage, and that's one of the reasons why she had this mental breakdown.
I don't
and had to
want
go away
that
for a little bit.
because I don't trust MTV to be able to do it well.
Responsibly.
Long and very short. That's mostly the reason I don't want it, because I don't trust this show or this network to handle it with the gravitas and the seriousness and the respect that a plot like that needs.
Very few horror. I mean, there are some horror movies that do it, that when they do approach that subject matter, approach it well and with respect.
And this is not the kind of series that would be able to do that, in my opinion.
Yeah, they only come around once in a blue moon because so much revolves around shock value, which is such a shame because it is such a heartbreaking ordeal. So yeah, I'm probably reading too much into it, but I don't know. That was just a thought I had when we were watching the episode and trying to process everything.
Again, that is pretty much the reason that I don't want that plot, because I don't trust the show to be able to do it well.
Well,
and it's not like, oh, it's a bad show. It's not like, oh, they can't do anything. It's like, no, that kind of plot needs a very particular approach and a very particular handling, and this show, the way it's going, has not proven itself capable of that particular approach and that particular handling, and I don't want to go there and then screw it up and have it just be this awful, awful thing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of stuff involving women's bodies turns into awful, awful things, and we just don't need that.
Yeah. Another theory is that clearly, because of Emma's dream, she's been to this house before.
Yeah.
And
played in the pig carcass, evidently.
Well, I don't know about that, but she's clearly been to this house before. Again, that's
symbolism.
I feel like it's symbolizing something. Symbolism.
Symbolism.
But I feel like she's been to this place before. Whatever she saw was actually horrible, and she repressed it, and it's only going to be throughout the season via her dream journal where the rest of this will, flashback will be revealed and what it means.
We'll see.
Who knows? It could be a premonition instead.
Oh my, play a pig carcass.
The future.
I don't know. Again, the theory that I'm sticking with is that it's two completely separate killers.
That would be hysterical.
110%. Or that one of them isn't a killer because right now they're just tormenting Audrey. And the other one is definitely just...
we have had killers in the Scream series with different agendas where they're working together, but they have different agendas.
Oh, no, I don't even think they're working together.
No, that's what I'm saying, is that it would be very interesting to have two killers who are not working together. That would be something new for this series. And
I would be down.
It would be very interesting to see them try to pull it off. And again, yeah, it looks like Girl Who Pulled the Prank is not going away. And it looks like we're going to get a few more characters. And it looks like, yeah.
We got to round out the roster before we murder more people.
Yeah. And I mean, to be fair, they did have to kill one of the survivors from last season in this episode. So I think it's going to be a few more episodes before we lose anybody else from season 1.
Here's hoping. There's not many of them left.
There really aren't.
There really aren't.
I do feel like Brooke probably will make it to the end of the season. Maybe Noah, because Randy did die in Scream 2. I'm just thinking
That
about
would
what other
suck, man.
plot points they could sort of pick and choose from the series. Because they definitely cherry picked certain things, and so I'm wondering what else they'll cherry pick. I like that they're doing more of their own thing, but it's like, let's not stray too far.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, those are my thoughts. Any other
That's
thoughts?
about all I have.
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in again. It's such a pleasure getting to talk about the show again.
It is.
I'm so excited for this season. Katie, where can people go if they want to find you?
On Twitter and just about everywhere else. Since we've
You
been
did
talking
list them
about
off
it, yeah.
earlier.
At Kiaxet, Kiaxet.
And I'm Megan. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin. Be sure to follow Silver Screams on Twitter and Instagram at silver_screams. Be sure to like us on Facebook. Let us know, what did you guys think of the first episode of this season?
And who do you think is the killer?
Yeah, we want to hear your theories for this season. And couple disclaimers before we go. Our taping schedule is does revolve around our AfterBuzz schedules.
And our actual lives.
Those two.
We're
We
gonna
have
be
jobs.
busy.
We have jobs. And we've got like conventions that we're going up to and things like that, and just other stuff
We
that
have
go on in our
many a
lives.
thing that we are doing. We will attempt to tape Tuesday nights, but no guarantees.
Yeah, so we're aiming for Tuesday nights and uploading on Tuesday nights/Wednesdays. Maybe we'll move to Monday if things open up, but for right now, it looks like Tuesday record, Wednesday upload is going to be the tentative schedule.
Yeah.
Subject to change. Do not quote us on that. But yeah, I think that's just about it.
I think so too.
Thank you guys so much again for tuning in. We will see you all next time. Hey, killer.
Hey.